Next one. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. Again imagery. The poet uses descriptive imagery to make the poem appealing for the reader. Inversion. What is inversion, children? Inversion is a figure of speech when the given line is not following the exact prose order. That means it is not in a sentence format. Now see here, the words in the line are arranged in an inverse manner to add to the poetic effect. The correct order of the words should be, the old man crossed in the dim twilight. But how? Just to have same rhyming words, to make it more effective, the poet has used inversion. Then tautology. The words twilight and dim have the same meaning. Next line. The chasm held no fear for him. Alliteration, because the sound of the letters H and F are getting repeated for poetic effect. So whenever the sound of any letter gets repeated, it becomes alliteration. The next is personification. What is personification, children? Whenever the human quality is given to non-living things, it becomes personification. Then what are the human qualities? Qualities of holding something, giving something, talking, laughing, dancing. All these are human qualities. So here the chasm is given the human quality of holding. So personification. But he paused when he reached the other side. Consonants. The consonant sound of the letter D has been repeated in the line. When it becomes consonants, children, whenever the consonants get repeated, it becomes consonants. Even the figure of speech repetition is suitable over here because the word he is getting repeated. So becomes repetition. Next line. And built a bridge to span the tide. Alliteration. The sound of the letters B and T are getting repeated for poetic effect. Why waste your time in building here? Alliteration, because the sound of the letter W is repeated for poetic effect. Whereas the question is formed, so interrogation, the poet asks a question not to get an answer but to cause the readers to think deeply about the point that he is trying to make. Why build ye here at eventide? Again a question. The poet is asking a question not to get an answer but to cause the readers, to make the readers pond, to think deeply about the point that he is trying to make it. To the fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. Imagery. The poet uses descriptive imagery to make the poem appealing for the reader. Inversion. The words in the line are not arranged in they are arranged in an inverse manner, means they are not arranged in the proper prose order to add to the poetic effect. But the correct order should be, it may be a pitfall for the fair-haired youth. Next line. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Alliteration. Because the sound of the letter T is repeated for poetic effect. Again, consonance is also suitable for the given line because the consonant sound of the letter T has been repeated in the line. And also imagery. Now what is imagery? Wherever so many images are created by the line in the mind of the reader, it becomes imagery. The poet uses descriptive imagery to make the poem appealing for the reader. Now next line. My friend, I am building this bridge for him. Alliteration. The sound of the letter B is repeated for poetic beauty. And consonants also, because the consonant sound of the letter M has been repeated. Now how many times M is getting repeated? In the word my, as well as again am, and the last word him. The sound of the consonant M is getting repeated. Next line. The pilgrim raised his old grey head. Consonants, because the consonant sound of the letter R has been repeated in this line. Imagery, because the poet uses descriptive images to make the poem appealing for the reader. Then tautology, the words old and grey mean the same thing. Whenever words having the same meanings have been given in the same line, then it becomes a figure of speech tautology. Then next one, last one children, my friend in the path I have come, he said. Inversion, because the sentence, the order of the sentence is not in a correct prose order. The words in the line are arranged in an inverse manner to add to the poetic effect. And the correct order is, he said, my friend, in the path I have come. So children, we complete learning figures of speech in this poem. Now we will be learning about the poetic appreciation of the poem. There are certain points which we will be learning about, and those points we have to keep it into the format of a table and describe them. Children, in this answer of appreciation of the poem, in a tabular format, the answer has to be written. For your 8th standard, this is the format which has to be followed by every child. So there are certain headings which we need to understand. What is the first heading? The title, then comes poet, then rhyming scheme, then favorite line, and this way we will go on. So let's begin with the first one, title. What is the title of the poem? The Pilgrim. So it has to be written in a table format. Then comes the name of the poet, which is anonymous because the name of the poet has not been mentioned here. What is the rhyming scheme, children? Do you know how to remove, how to get the rhyming scheme? Every stanza, last word, like every stanza, every line, we have to see the last word. First line, last word, whether it rhymes with the second line, last word, like that we need to find out with A, B, B. So it is arranged in an order of A, B, C, D. If the same rhyming words are repeated in the first line, last word and second line, last word, then it becomes A. So this way, the rhyme scheme of the first stanza will be A, B, C, B, B. Now the second stanza. What is the rhyme scheme then? A, B, B, C. Same way for the third stanza, A, B, B, C, D, D. So it has to be mentioned stanza wise. Then comes your favorite line. Whichever is your, it can be any line, children, but you need to mention it in that column. Let's continue with the next headings. Next headings are theme or central idea, where you are supposed to mention what is the exact theme of the poem. Then figures of speech. Whatever number of figures of speech you go through the poem, you have to mention it here. And then the last heading is why I like or dislike the poem. Children, even though why do you dislike the poem is asked, still you are supposed to be very, very positive in your answer. Positively you should write you like the poem, and then also why do you like it, that reason also has to be written over here. So let's begin with the theme or central idea. One must be selfless enough to share life's experiences with the next generation, enabling them, making them able to transverse along the journey of life by avoiding the pitfalls. These pitfalls are nothing but obstacles or problems in the life. Then figures of speech, alliteration, consonants, imagery, inversion, interrogation, personification, repetition, and tautology. Why I like or dislike the poem? I like the poem for the message of kindness and philanthropy it advocates, and for its metaphorical quality. We have learned, children, what is the difference between metaphor and simile. Metaphor is indirect comparison. The whole poem is indirect comparison to the life, whereas all the pitfalls are like they symbolize the problems in one's life. What is philanthropy? Philanthropy means it is the desire of a person to promote the welfare of others. It is the willingness of someone who feels to promote the welfare, to do something good to others. That is philanthropy. Children, we have learned the whole poem, The Pilgrim. Now you're going to write down the word meanings and poetic appreciation in your class notebook, as well as you will try to solve all the textual activities in the textbook. Thank you.